So, good evening.
Hi.
This movie, it's very experimental. We haven't seen many movies like this. So, a very generic question from my side is, I'm curious about the filmmaking process. So, what kind of autonomy was given to the younger generation who are participating greatly in the film, who are all performing in the film and have co-written the different sections of the film also. So, what kind of process was that, and what kind of discussions did you have in general, and organization-wise? Yeah, what was basically the process?
I can just give a quick context and then maybe Sweety and Tanya can take it forward. So you may or may not have figured this out, but a lot of the stories that they wrote were actually inspired from real life experiences that they've had in schools as well. So it's not just written by them, but it's also written about them. So we started the project thinking about how do we get how do we document the lives of kids who have been in schools where mixed classrooms are a norm, right? So kids from different backgrounds come into the same classroom, and how does that work? And a lot of the kids that I'd worked with or mentored for many years were part of these classrooms. So I wanted to sort of see what that looks like, right? Because I'd worked with them in Teach for India, and then after my 2 years of working with them, I'd help them get scholarships into some of these schools. So the journey really started a little bit with that. And actually, Sweety can tell you a little more about the early parts of the journey as well, because she was involved with me almost since the beginning. Um, but what happened when we got Safdar involved? So I'd been looking for a director to make the film. Like Sweety and I actually talked about it, and I said, let's write a book together. And she said, Didi, no one really reads books anymore. I think we should make a film or something. So we said, okay, let's try and find a good director. And Safdar is also Teach for India fellow. So I knew him well. He has one movie he'd made before on a child. It's called Chippa, if you'd like to watch it. And basically, when he came on board, he turned it around a little bit and he said, let's not make a documentary on the kids. Let's get them to participate in writing the stories. And so that they can choose the way they want to tell the story. So we did a lot of processes with the kids. We ran workshops for creativity. We ran workshops for writing. We also did about 1.5 to 2 hour personal interviews with each child so that they came out with their stories a little bit. And then they can tell you a little more in detail about the workshops and what exactly happened with them. But basically, Safdar worked with every story independently and worked with them to refine their story. And then post that, there's a very interesting journey because actually the kids also helped out in the production. So they all interned. Sweety was part of the production team. Tanya was part of the costumes and art team. So everyone actually also worked on the film. And they were not just the cast, but they were also the crew. So yeah, I'll hand it over to the kids. I think they'll be much better at explaining the details and what they got out of it.
Is Sweety going to start?
You can go first. Fine.
I would say the journey was like साथ साथ चलती गई जो उन्होंने बोला हमने वो कर दिया kind of like that. First the workshops were conducted and I at the time of the workshops didn't know what was the purpose of it. I knew that a film is going to come out of it afterwards, but I didn't know what the purpose was of the film was, what the what do they want to see in the film, what do they want expect of the film. So I just ran along with it, and afterwards the interviews and stuff was conducted, and they told me that I was selected to be a part of the co-writer, and I was like, what do I have to write about? Just tell me that. They was like, oh, you just have to write about yourself, your experiences, journey, and stuff like that. It's like, okay, like what's interesting about my journey? I would say if Safdar Bhaiya and Nivritti Didi weren't really familiar with teaching kids and handling kids, it wouldn't have been possible. Like in interview, there was a question, ki, just draw your life journey. Most of the questions which a therapist kind of ask. Ki, I was like, how am I supposed to draw my life journey on a single page, and what am I supposed to draw about? So I found it very absurd at the time, but now I realize the importance of it and what do they wanted to see in us. And yeah, even during the writing process, if we were put together in groups. So I was put in a group with Saloni, and there was a time when we both were very busy with exams. So one of us used to write all the stories, and the other used to focus on the exam. So that's what we used to do. And Sabda Bhaiya got to know about it. He just read the stories and he just said, one of you has written and you have written the stories, the other one has not written the stories. I would say that was his experience. He was just able to guess on just reading the stories. Oh, that's not your experience. Yeah.
So I would say for me, when the when how Nivritti told, when she asked me that should we write a autobiography or a book about ourselves, our whole journey of 10 years. So I feel when we met Sabzar Bhai and we finally decided on for a movie, I remember the 10 of us being so excited about a movie. Like, okay, हम फिल्म बनाने वाले हैं, ओ हमारे ऊपर बनाने वाले हैं, क्या हमें अपनी स्टोरीज भी लिखनी है. So we weren't told that we will work as the crew also in the beginning. First, we were just we were given workshops, as Tanya mentioned, writing workshop, poetry, sketching, and all these story mood board and story writing and everything. We did all that, and then we also got in touch with a writer who actually writes, and she also helped us and explained us how to improve our writing and helped us in our writing and helped us in explaining our stories in a much better way. So I was with Kavya and Tanisha, two of my friends from school. So it was the story of three of us. So and after the the script took a lot of time. Like we had to edit the script again and again. हमें लगता है अच्छा ये final script है नहीं. अगले एक हफ्ते बाद नहीं ये अब final है नहीं एक हफ्ते बाद ये and there was a time where end में आगे बन अच्छा ये final script है ना. Like this is the last time we are having the script and we are reading it. And I guess for me when we got to know that we'll also work as a crew, that was like okay, we are going to work around professionals. So first it was like okay, hum galti karenge. It was scary actually because they know a lot more than you do. But I guess those people which Nivritti and Safdar Bhaiya brought and said to, like I was working in the production team. I was also casting people with Vikram Bhaiya, who was helping, who was actually casting people, and I was working with him. So that was a really difficult part to do. And we used to be up, like when we were also shooting, we used to be up at night. Like many times रात में शूट हो रहा है, कभी बहुत सुबह सुबह शूट हो रहा है, लॉजिस्टिक्स कैसे होंगे. So ये सब जो हमने खुद हैंडल किया, that was like a very proud moment. Okay, we can also do so much. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like the kids by the end of it, I think they actually managed to, like they would set up set, they would help to get permissions for yahan pe shoot karna hai. There were two kids who were actually managing travel logistics and food for the crew, like, and it was really organized by them. So we had like a 30 people crew, out of which 21 were actually children. There were only 9 adults on the set. And we were literally just managing ki acha ye kar lo, wo kar lo, just prioritizing, but actually the kids were doing everything. Tanya, maybe you can share like how you guys did the PPTs and everything as well for art and costume.
Yeah, we were supposed to create props and stuff. जैसे in a scene जब नमन का paper है, in Naman and Saksham story, the papers which they are writing upon, that were also created by the art team. So छोटे छोटे props and Sweety के कमरे में जैसे posters and all, they were also created by the art team. So, yeah, they were actually I was actually very surprised. I didn't know that art team का इतना काम होता है, and they're like small. There's like it's such a minor details that come into account when you're filming. I would say the most difficult part was waking up at 5 p.m. Actually, waking up at 4 because the call time was 5 p.m. But actually, everyone woke up at
AM.
very early. Yeah,
AM.
sorry. AM.
Yeah.
Everyone woke up very early. You didn't have to call anyone ki, oh, you are late on set. Everyone was early on set. Even we were.
One more question regarding the filmmaking process only. So the script, how one section of the characters flowed into another story. So like some characters were consistent in the story. Like the last story, I don't remember the girl's name, but yeah, some character, Jugni. Yeah, so some characters were consistent and some characters were appearing again and again. So what was the thinking behind that, and what was the script writing process behind that?
Actually, before you get into the response to this, Nivritti, could you give a little context of how it was a classroom setting and what was the like basis or the background of the storyline in which the film was set as well? And sort of then maybe introduce how Sweety and Tanya or other kids' relationships sort of grew in the filmmaking process.
Okay.
Vani, why don't you?
Got it.
Go for it, actually, take it. I think like a little bit of context before I let Sweety, Tanya, and Nivritti sort of take on the answer to that question is so there were a bunch of kids that Nivritti has worked with over the last sort of 10 years, and when she was sharing how she went about wanting to make this story about them and what their journey has been, and through the course of that conversation, a lot of the conversation became about how are some kids. Of course, it's a story about teenagers in high school. Like that's a big part of what is happening, right? But along with that, it's also how these kids who maybe were from low-income backgrounds were in a posh elite school and how they were navigating through that. And so to make it absolutely authentic, it could not be a one-sided conversation as like a student from a low-income household in a posh school like this. So over the course of the process of the filmmaking, students like Sweety actually reached out to their friends and said, do you want to be part of this filmmaking process? They might not have been in the 10-year journey, like Kavya maybe wasn't in the 10-year journey, Tanya wasn't in the 10-year journey. So when Tanya says that I didn't know what was the purpose of the film, it's because she was not there in the 10-year journey, but she was a friend of someone on the crew who wanted her to be part of the conversation. And so all these, the film is set in one classroom, which is why you see some people flow in and out of each film. You'll actually see everyone in each film if you look carefully in your next viewing of this film. But it's actually everyone together coming together, where each story then focuses on 2 new or 3 new people in that same classroom. Jugni also, if you remember, there's a scene where Nivritti ma'am is taking attendance and asking Jugni, and Sweety says, no, she's not present, right? So Jugni is also in that classroom, but she's not able to attend school because of parents not being supportive. So in that context, Nivritti, Sweety, and Tanya, if you want to respond to the question of what was that process like?
So actually, the kids wrote their stories independent of each other. And in all their stories, they wrote in characters from their lives. Actually, a lot of the parents actually play their parents, right? Most of them, parents, siblings, etc., were actually really their parents. But for friends, they had written in some of their friends from their schools or classrooms that some of them were negative characters, some of them were different characters that may not have wanted to play themselves. So what we instead decided to do was, the characters who are already in another film, you already know them a little bit. Let's just ask them only to play that role. So actually, like Tanya and Saloni didn't really have an argument with Saksham in real life. Like Saksham is played by a person. You see what I mean, right? Like they wrote in a character or they wrote in a person from their life, but Saksham played that person in their film, because also like we wanted to contain it. It's already 10 kids, right? You're already getting to know 10 different characters, which is a lot. So how many more can you actually get to know and it will become confusing. So we tried to keep it to the same characters who come in and out of the film. But Jugni's film, the reason we broke it up, we tried to look at many different formats, right? We looked at, should we do 5 films independently? Should we do all films together, एक एक करके, मतलब थोड़ा scenes. The format that worked the best is the one you've seen, where we felt that if you see Jugni's story, right? Jugni's story का कुछ progress नहीं होता. मतलब वो try करती है, कुछ नहीं होता. Try करती है, कुछ नहीं होता. And everybody else's story is थोड़ा सा progressing. कुछ हो रहा है, right? And right in the end, something happens to her story. So actually, if you see Jugni's story together, it's actually very irritating. You get very frustrated as a viewer ki she's trying, she's not happening. So that's what, you know, it was a great beginning. It was a great end. So we thought we'll break it up actually to show you that, you know, every other child story is progressing, but hers didn't progress. And then at the end it does, you know, so that's why we looked at it like that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that totally answers my question. And just one last question, then I'll leave the stage. It was about Abbas's character. So all of a sudden, I felt the story got very intense. The whole Muslim part and the whole CAA protest part. So what was again the same question? What was the script writing process behind that, and was it
Yeah. Is it okay if I take that question? Because I know Sweety and Tanya, you may not have as much context, right? I mean, if you see the actual script in version 1, and if you see even what we shot, it's even more intense. And we had to cut it down because we were like, viewers ko bahut zyada ho jayega. Like, because actually what he went through as a child in that 1 year was very hard. So he wrote about it, and now he's in a very different phase of his life. You know, he's advocating for very different gender issues and things like that. He's that child, or he's that person who's very, I wouldn't say political as a person. He's very, like, he cares a lot about the world. You know, he really cares about issues. So when he was asked to write a film and write a story, he wrote about what was bothering him the most in that year. You know, which is genuinely his experiences of how he was treated in the classroom, how his principal treated him, etc. Right? So actually none of those scenes are like made up at all. Like, this is maybe 1/4 of his experience. If you see actually what else he wrote, some of it we had to tell him ki acha chalo Abbas abhi matlab contain it, you know. Let's think about the most important scenes and things like that. But we actually didn't really, except for telling him ki lamba khich raha hai, we didn't really change or, you know, like, yeah, mold his story in any way. It's very pure in terms of how he experienced it.
Okay. Thank you very much. This just enriches the experience of watching the film. Thank you for making a film like this.
Yeah, no worries.
Hi everyone. I'm Pankuri.
Hello. Hi.
So I've been working with children for around 20 years now, and I run a school. And one thing that came to my mind while watching was, I mean, there's so many things that I want to talk about, but I'll just contain my question to I just want to know your view, Nivritti, and even the kids, about how does it work that, so there is the RTI in place, the right to education, but I'm sure it's not easy either for these children who are like from the privileged backgrounds, and the other children who come and they're supposed to be integrated. And you as teachers need to be fair to both. So I don't know how it works. I'm sure it's different. I just want to know the feel of it.
Yeah, so when you get into a classroom, like, first of all, like, we all got through private scholarships, like the 10 of us, we got into schools through the private scholarship. That time the RTA was not in place. Like, it was just coming. It was very new. So, but when we went to a classroom which is very different from us, the experience changes a lot. Like, we were in a classroom, like Nivritti didn't go to a high income school. She was there in a small in our locality where she was teaching the 10th. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you repeat
Yeah.
the last?
So I was Yeah, so I was saying, like, Nivritti didn't go to a high income school to teach. Like, through Teach for India, she was a fellow in a low, like, very small school in our locality where the 10 of us were there, and where she, like, took us to a really different school, really privileged school where we experienced a lot. I feel when you go to a classroom like that, there are many things which start bothering you. Like, you might say, okay, if you don't tell the other person, they don't see any difference, but they see, they actually notice each and everything you do, like the way you eat food, the way you talk, the way you are, like your hair is combed, the brand shoes which you are wearing, like every single thing they will notice. And when they come up to you and say, like, they notice something and they're telling it to you, that is something which starts bothering you. And I feel that happened with the most of us when we went to those schools. Like, we saw children coming in very posh cars. We saw, like, they talking about their houses, they're talking about the fancy dinners they went on, their abroad trips. And that was the time, like, we didn't had anything to say. हमारे पास कुछ नहीं था, we don't have anything to brag about to them. And that is the time where you feel you are, like, most different. And when you talk about teachers, I feel like every teachers, I don't think that every teacher tries to incorporate children, because in many schools in Delhi, also in different parts of our country, in many schools where there are children through EWS or something like that, I don't think in many schools it is actually the children, like the teachers try to incorporate the children within their classrooms. Like, in many schools you will say there is a different classroom for children who come from the, like, EWS, like, who join schools like that. And and like some classrooms, they have different uniforms for kids. So that is like, when you see these kind of things, this is like the ways when where the schools and the teachers are only making the kids feel more excluded and not included at all. But, like, touch wood, like, I would say my school actually, like the teachers were actually, like, they actually put effort in making you understand and making you include and make you feel inclusive in a place which is very different from yours. So yeah.
Sweet. For sharing your experiences.
Tanya, you want to share as well?
I don't really have a first-hand experience of this, but I can share what I felt when Saloni shared about her background with me. She told me in 10th that about her background and movie and where she came from and about RTE and scholarship. And I realized it took her 6 years to build up the courage to come up to me, to her first friend, to just tell about where she came from, to just tell about her identity. And she had to lie all these 6 years to her closest friends and hide about herself, hide about her address, uh, just making excuses when there was a meetup कि ओ मेरा घर possible नहीं होगा आज possible नहीं है. And I just felt so bad, and I, to be honest, felt angry at the children who made her feel like that. I would say if we provide an open environment, we, including teacher and children, and we teach children from the start, from the childhood, that yeah, these people are different from you, but different doesn't mean bad. Different doesn't mean that you have to treat them differently. So if we provide that environment, if we provide that teaching, maybe that wouldn't have occurred. Maybe she wouldn't have to take 6 years to build up that courage. Maybe she could have taken 6 days and being like, oh, just, I mean, I'm from this background and this is about me. But yeah, I would say the teachers were quite are quite supportive in my school. Even when I was a new admission in the school, they tried to incorporate me and try to make help me make friends, and so yeah, if the teachers actually help a lot.
I think
Thank you
the
so
kids
much
really
for
answered a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for asking that question. I feel like that's such an integral part of why this film was made. And as you were saying, you're working in schools. A big like ask from our side is we want to be able to share this film with schools as well across India. Because I think, like as Tanya said, right, the experience that she had when she found out that her friend was not able to feel comfortable to tell her, and how she felt about that, I feel like kids become the biggest block, but they
Enablers
also
for
become the
disabled.
biggest ally once they know what's happening, right? And we want to be able to start those conversations in schools across India. So everyone who's sitting in the room, if you feel like you want to take this film out, show it in a school that you're in touch with, a private income, high income school, low income school, mid income school, it doesn't matter. We'd be more than happy to connect with you for this as well. But thank you so much, Sweety and Tanya, for just being so authentic in your responses as well. Thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, and I think more and more when we were writing the stories or when I was reading the script, I was really far away from the script. I only read it by the end because I told Safdar that I'm so close to the kids, I'll interfere. I'll be like, nahi, nahi, ye story nahi boli usne. This is such an integral part of their life. So I stayed away. But it was interesting because a lot of the stories, when they finally came out, I realized like, um, parents, teachers, adults are background actors and enablers. Really, the story of inclusion is kids to kids. So I think when we started talking about that, it was just a very big aha, even for me, that actually it's the kids who make a difference in the classroom. It's Tanya's choice or it's Kavya's choice, how she behaves. And it's like, maybe, you saw an Anshita who was quite horrible to both Saloni and Tanya. Like there are those kids as well. So yeah, and I think it's all of our choices really, right? Like we all have those choices as adults even, to include or exclude wherever we are. So
I just want to talk about a few visuals that I'm going to be staying with. So there was that slug scene, so powerful. And it was on the screen long time. So it became even more powerful. And the bottle, the difference in the bottle, that's
crazy how these two scenes always come up.
do they always come up?
Yeah, and I didn't think they would be the game changers at all when we made this film. Yeah, I actually fought with Safdar about it. I was like, can we take this slug out? There's so much yeah. But he was really like, no, it really, it gives depth to the film. Anyway.
And a lot of brave commentary, political commentary, which I really want to congratulate everyone for, because these are times when people want to stay away from commenting about systems. So I just want to congratulate all my love, and I hope this movie makes a lot of difference everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we would, like Vani said, we would love to have people who want to take this forward. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Vikram. I run a school here in the city, Raipur, by the name the RM School. And the kind of impact Teach for India has, and I mean, a lot of things you guys have been doing, but just to add, another feather in the cap, not the feather, but sharing my perspective that the kind of impact you have in the, different cities, but at RM, the kind of work we have been trying to do a lot of inspiration has come from Akanksha Foundation and Teach for India. We have had the privilege of having PFI fellows also in our school, teaching and learning with our children at Aram. So it is always inspiring to see the kind of stuff you come up with to make sure that you don't keep any stone unturned, to bring such change in the society. And this is one such great example. I mean, I don't know how to share. So I don't have any questions. Just congratulations for the efforts of all the kids here, the entire team. It's always inspiring to see, especially the PDs, the teachers of Teach for India, what kind of impact you create in people. I remember like 5-6 years back when I was in Pune attending one of your training sessions, and I'm sorry this is not connected to the movie, but I'm just sharing the kind of impact Teach for India and Akanksha Foundation has had, in the society, not just with the people you associate with, otherwise also. So I remember when we just started Aram, and I met, I was part of the training at Akanksha, and there was this session where children were also invited to talk about their role of teachers at Akanksha and Teach for India. So the other teachers asked a child, saying that share some experience of teachers at Akanksha, and what kind of inspiration and motivation you get. So the answer I still remember, she said that you just live that path, in the teaching, in this process, be what you are, and one day you will find a teacher who will change your life. And then just be in that path and achieve whatever you want. So the kind of role you have played, and at this age and otherwise also, I've seen the kind of maturity you bring in the children, the kind of commentary, the kind of courage you give the children, apart from a lot of academic excellence. Hats off to you. And you, as Vani, you just talked about it, that you want to have this impact through this movie to the larger audience. I don't know how can I connect, but if children of our school can also watch this movie, and such formal interaction can be done with the kids, so they also get inspiration and bring some sort of change in the society. So congratulations once again for amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, and Vani, and my email is, it can be circulated, and you can definitely connect with us for another screening. I also want to call out, there were so many Teach for India fellows, including Vani. Vani is also Teach for India fellow, but there were so many Teach for India fellows and organizations who were involved in helping us. There's another organization, if you're interested in the arts, called Slam Out Loud, and they work with kids from privileged and underprivileged backgrounds to help them work with arts for social change. So they were the ones who led the workshops with the kids. And, Indus Action also works actually in Raipur. They have a segment that works in East India as well, to try and get kids from the communities through the EWS provision into high income schools as well. So they co-funded and co-produced our film because it was something an issue that was so close to their heart as well. So I think it's just there have been many people who have also helped us along the way, and been byproducts of Teach for India partnerships. So yeah, I just wanted to.
One of the co-producers is also Tarun, right? Who is an artist.
Yeah, Tarun is in this action. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it an informal conversation right now, but it's a pleasure interacting with you all.
Hi, Nivritti. Thank you.
मेरे ख्याल से तारीफ तो हम सब कर ही रहे हैं. मुझे लगता है कि besides appreciating कि भाई स्टोरी नरेशन कितना अच्छा था, सोशल कमेंट्री कितनी अच्छी थी, और स्क्रिप्टिंग कितनी अच्छी थी. जो एक्टिंग स्किल है, मुझे लगता है कि एज अ फर्स्ट टाइमर आपको जब स्क्रीन पे आते हैं तो आपकी प्रेजेंस और जितना नेचुरल स्किल के साथ उसको किया वाला उसके लिए कुडोज. आई थिंक शानदार उसको निभाना. बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज टू ऑल दैट एफर्ट डालने के पीछे. एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन जो मैं जानना चाहता हूं, ऑब्वियसली निविति के नाम पर तो आप दोनों भी आंसर कर सकते हैं. बिफोर फाइनलाइजिंग द स्क्रिप्ट, जो आप स्टोरीज पिक कर रहे थे कि अपने पूरे नरेशन की स्टोरी को बताना है, कुछ स्टोरीज रिजेक्ट भी हो रही है, इस पार्ट को छोड़ते हैं, इस पार्ट को बताते हैं. तो वो डायलेमा कैसे दूर करते हैं कि किस पार्ट को स्टोरी में रखना है, किसको ड्रॉप करना है? What has been the thought behind that? Which particular part of your journey you want to share or not?
प्रियांक थोड़ा रिपीट करना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा सा स्किप हो रहा है.
Yes. Also, it's 2.5 minutes left for this Zoom call, so we'll send you a link again if you guys can be kind enough to join again. So, all right, let's do that. All right. See you guys soon.
If you can just chat it into this Zoom, we'll just rejoin.
You can actually rejoin the same link. It will work.
Yeah, so with 10 minutes.
Vani, can you resend it to us on?
Okay, I'll do that.
That you were able to create, and I wanted to say this to Vikram as well earlier, and so you gave me a segue into that as well. I think both of you have said that we've created an environment for kids to be able to do this. I think any environment that takes kids seriously will allow for kids to be able to say things seriously. And I think through our film, that's something that we really want to push for, is how are kids going to be able to talk about things that are important for their existence and their life, and how are adults going to start listening to them seriously. If we keep expecting that our kids are not serious enough or they don't know what's happening, we will listen to them accordingly. But if we take them seriously, then this is what comes out of it. And so I think, like, more than us creating a space about that, I think it's how do we enable spaces that take kids seriously, and kids know how to do their job really well. So thank you so much for that. But please get us into Mami this year also.
I was actually wondering, before we take Priyank's question, because you've spoken so much about the making, we actually have a short 2-minute video if you want to see it, which shows you the making with the kids. I'll just send you the drive link. I don't know how you want to project it. You can decide.
You can say play it over here and probably also share the screen.
Sure. Yeah. Do that.
Should we just play it and share the screen? Yeah.
No, let them play it, because
Got
if
it.
we
It
share
will
the
lag.
internet,
It will lag.
Yeah.
Okay. We are in this. See, I'm just gonna share my screen now.
So we all will post.
Yes.
Action. Obviously.
Yeah. Oh, this was great to just see, how, in what conditions, how people were making this film. Just to watch it, it's. Thank you so much for doing this again. And I'm going to resume to Priyansh. Please.
Hi, Neil. Yeah, I just have these two little questions. Just मैं चाहता हूँ कि समझ सकूँ मैं इस पूरी process को, because I know कि 10 सालों की जर्नी के काफी सारे ऐसे इमोशंस रहे होंगे जो आप चाहते थे फिल्म के दौरान स्क्रीन किए जाएं। तो ऐसे कौन से स्क्रिप्टिंग के पार्ट्स थे जो आपको लगा कि इसको इन करते, इस चीज को ड्रॉप करते, तो आपने वो पिक कैसे किए थे while writing the script, while choosing कि इन इंसिडेंट्स को दिखाएंगे, इनको नहीं दिखाएंगे? Was there a theory behind कि इसको पिक करते हैं, इसको ड्रॉप करते हैं?
Actually, Safdar would be the best person because he's done a little more of it than I have in terms of the scripting when he worked with the kids. So, us time, I think maybe kids, you guys can talk about that process. I can just talk about the when we shot it. We started looking at scenes to see कि same cheese, अगर same emotion 2-3 scenes में आ रहा है, can we actually decide which is the more impactful scene? तो उस हिसाब से हमने थोड़ी सी editing करी है, especially in 1 or 2 films जो बहुत लंबे खिंच रहे थे, because वही है ना कि attention audience की रखनी है issue के ऊपर. Of course, अब्बास वापस आया था हमारे पास कि मेरी story आधी काट दी है. And we were like, हाँ Abbas, but his story was 30 minutes when we finally put it together. 30 minute की story सिर्फ उसकी थी. We were like, ऐसा नहीं हो पाएगा. You have to, give it थोड़ा सा equality also with everybody. But yeah, मतलब he's a passionate kid. What do you do?
अच्छा, अब्बास शॉर्टिंग की गई तो फिर भी मुझे लगता है कि it has been the most hard hitting story of the all stories, no? जितना impact worthy होती है और जिस तरीके से वो जिस नोट को एंड होती है, it's so much, there's so much to learn from them.
Yeah. And actually what they did for that poem is very interesting because both Chanda and Abbas are poets generally, right? They love it. और हमने सफदर उनको बोला था कि तुम लोग पोएट्री कुछ कर नहीं रहे हो साथ में, कुछ you've not written anything in your script about your poetry. And ऐसे on a Zoom call, Abbas said, Chanda तू बोल. So Chanda's like, मैं क्यों बोलूं, तुम बोलो. And they're very competitive actually. Very similar to how it's written on screen. So that part actually Safdar is written ki nahi tum bolo, because they actually said it. And then Abbas said, chalo theek hai, main thoda bolta hu, fir tum thoda bolna. Or actually that is how they created it when they put it together. So it was very beautiful how they wrote it together. Really, really interesting process. And matlab end mein ek do scenes I would say Safdar and I thought about it. Jaise Sweety ki story was actually ending with that very sweet scene between Kavya and her and Tanisha, right? वो end में, but Safdar and I felt कि end में इतना cute नहीं लगना चाहिए. So that's why she walked. मतलब इतना खुशी, like you can't forget that it's a difficult issue, right? So that's why she walks and she sees the चौकीदार का बेटी. He like, because you were like, we don't want people to forget that, oh, it's happy, rosy ending, everyone's good. So those kind of 1-2 scenes we added. But otherwise, yeah, it was what
Yeah,
the
I
kids
remember
wanted.
जब जुगनी की स्टोरी चल रही थी तो किसी ने मुझसे बगल में कुछ बैठे होते पूछा कि यार जुगनी की स्टोरी का कोई स्वीट एंड होगा या इसका भी साइड एंड तो नहीं दिख जाएगा जैसे हिंदी फिल्मों में होने लगा आजकल. लेकिन नहीं, लेट्स सी हाउ इट गोस फॉरवर्ड. एंड तानिया एंड स्वीटी, मैं ना आप लोगों से एक चीज जानना चाह रहा हूँ क्योंकि एक इंटरेस्टिंग पूरी जर्नी रही आप लोगों की, एक पूरी प्रोसेस ऑफ फिल्म मेकिंग, यू बीन पार्ट ऑफ, यू एक्टेड इन इट, यू राइट, आपने काफी कुछ लिखा भी इसके लिए. तो इस पूरे प्रोसेस से गुजरने के बाद हाउ डू यू फील कि ये आपके लिए कोई लाइकिंग की चीज है, आप आगे भी करेंगे फिल्मों में कुछ चीजें, कुछ स्क्रिप्टिंग, कुछ राइटिंग, कुछ फिल्म मेकिंग, एज अ करियर चॉइस लगता है या नहीं थक गए बहुत?
I'm opting for film and like I'm thinking about opting for film and animation in my college. Yeah.
I would say film से ज़्यादा what part that most impacted me was the crew of Safdar Bhaiya and Nivritti Didi especially. So I'm opting for psychology so that I can maybe change the life of another kid who may be going through the same situation as the kids shown in the film. And that would be my dream.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for living such characters. बियॉन्ड इमेजिनेशन बहुत प्यारा काम, बहुत शानदार स्टोरी टेलिंग। और मैं चाहता हूँ कि जिनके सवाल है वो और अपने सवाल पूछ लें। You had some questions, please come.
और प्रियांक, कभी आप अपनी भी पोएट्री सुनाना सबके सामने। He's a beautiful poet.
हाय, मेरा नाम संयुक्ता है और फिल्म बहुत अच्छी लगी मेरे को। मेरा सवाल इस स्वीटी और तान्या से है कि एक्टिंग के टाइम आप लोगों को अपना ही कैरेक्टर प्ले करना था वापस से, तो क्या प्लानिंग थी कि और साथ में मैम ने जैसे बताया कि 30 मेंबर्स का क्रू था, उसमें मैक्सिमम किड्स ही थे और मैं भी काइंड ऑफ किड ही हूँ और मेरे को फिल्म मेकिंग में है इंटरेस्ट। तो मैम, आपका कैसा था एक्सपीरियंस बच्चों के साथ काम करने का? क्योंकि काम करते टाइम थोड़ा ऐसा हो जाता है ना कि इरिटेटिंग टाइप का और हेक्टिक ऐसा, तो कैसे मैनेज हुआ? और ऐसा कभी सिचुएशन आया था क्या कि नहीं हो गया छोड़ते हैं? लाइक नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं आया होगा, फिर भी मतलब लगता है। हाँ, और साथ में इनकी बच्चों को भी हेक्टिक हो जाता होगा, पढ़ाई वढ़ाई और क्रू भी और एक्टिंग भी, तो कैसे ये सब मैनेज हुआ?
I feel एक टाइम के बाद निवृत्ति दीदी was telling, like I remember निवृत्ति दीदी telling me, कल तुम्हारा शूट है, तुम घर जाओ सोने के लिए, तुम सेट पे मत रहो। I remember दी telling सक्षम अभी सो रहा है, वो भी सेट पे नहीं आएगा। So हमारे अंदर it was like a lot of excitement was there कि we were not taking a day off, नहीं हमें नहीं चाहिए, हमारा शूट है। I remember like I went home for half an hour and I was like, दीदी घर पे बोरिंग लग रहा है, सेट पे ही रह लेती। And like when we were also shooting, at a point we were like, भैया एक और बार रीटेक लेते हैं ना, आई गेस ये बेटर हो सकता है। So like हमें इतना ज्यादा एक्साइटमेंट था that it is our story and we want the best for it. And it was like 1 year of hard work also. It was like we worked a whole year like behind this, and in the middle of the process we can't come and say like नहीं हो रहा है अभी हमसे. So yeah.
I remember on the day of my shoot, when the house shoot was going to take place, Pratik sir refused for me to intern. He told कि तुम intern नहीं, मतलब तुम नहीं आओगी art team की तरफ से उस दिन. And I was like, what? मेरे को बताया भी नहीं, मेरे को विक्रम भैया आके बता रहे हैं. So I went to Pratik sir and said कि आपने मुझे मना कर दिया आने के लिए. Why? मैं आऊंगी. Like I tried to fight with him, but obviously who can win with Pratik Punjabi? But yeah, so I wasn't allowed to intern that day because we were supposed to rest on the day of our shoot. Taki hectic now, but yeah, we shot this all in when we were in 11, so there was not much pressure because we were already writing the year before in 10th, so we kind of understood how to write and how to manage extracurricular and studies together. I would say I didn't have that ability before the movie at all. I was a very bad time management. Well, I was very bad at time management, really, but I am better at it, much better.
Like हमने उस पीरियड में जितनी स्कूल की छुट्टियां ली होगी, लाइक सक्षम और मैं स्कूल गए एंड पीपल लाइक, ओ एक्टर्स फ्री हो गए काम से, अरे स्कूल आए हैं आज पहली बार. So
We were actually scolded by teachers a lot, me and Saloni. Yeah, we used to actually when we used to meet up, because we didn't have the time to meet up together, so we used to make excuses on the name of the film ki we have to write the script, actually we have to go to we have a shoot today, so that we can meet up, so that we can talk, because there was no time to talk on the sets.
You can see Nivritti is just getting to know about all of this.
This conversation is really stressing me out, guys. I'm glad everyone's finished their 12 boards and you've left those schools. Yeah, मतलब हमारे हिसाब से हमने permission ली थी सारे स्कूल से, सारे पेरेंट्स से, for the days of shoot and everything. But yeah, the days, matlab, kids also had exams in the middle of those shoots, so we had to send kids for exams and stuff like that. It was crazy, but we managed. I also think मतलब आप जितना responsibility बच्चों को देते हो उतना लेते हैं, right? So it was like, and we did not have an adult crew to rely on कि वो बच्चे हमारे लिए extras हैं. They were not extra, they were the main people. So we were just like, अच्छा आपको PPT बना के सफदर भैया से approve करवानी है. So they had to do it. It was not like, you know, oh, someone else will make the PPT if you are not available or if you're not, you know, you don't know how to do it. They just had to learn. They had ADs and people who would teach them, but once they had to do it, they were in charge. Like Sweety, when we were, I remember some of the people, like, you know, rickshaws mein kaun baithega, buses mein kaun baithega, etc. We had to get a lot of extras in and things like that. And Sweety was like running around and doing all of that. She was convincing people in her community कि भैया please आप train में train station पे आके बैठ जाओ ना side में, like all of those things. हम आपको free bread pakora दे देंगे and all that, like, you know, so those kind of things, like they were all actually doing that themselves. So I mean, that's what, right, to what Vani said, if you give kids the responsibility, you take them seriously, they will deliver. But like Sweety said, I had to play a little bit of the gatekeeper in terms of really the kids were very tired, you know, all the time, because they were on set from 4:35 in the morning. They were working almost till 9:30, 10 at night. Most adults would be extremely tired. And Safdar and I were talking about this the other day, that when he was going through the BTS footage, he was like, हर scene में कोई बच्चा पीछे बैठ के सो रहा है, because literally that's how they were getting their sleep. कि जहां मेरा scene नहीं है, जहां मैंने अपना crew का काम कर लिया, like I'll just take a 15-20 minute nap. And I remember there was one day where Saksham was so tired. He was like, you know, like I think he threw up and stuff like that. So I just shut the door in my house one day. We were shooting in my house. And I was like, Saksham wahan so raha hai, koi usko disturb nahi karega. So, I mean, that's the role mainly I played for the kids, which is just to balance it out between their other sort of responsibilities. Otherwise, I think they would have overdone it to a large degree.
थैंक यू फॉर आंसरिंग एंड एक्टिंग तो बहुत सही लगी मेरे को, जैसे फर्स्ट टाइम था ना आप लोग का, तो आगे भी आप लोग करना, क्योंकि कैमरा के सामने ऐसा होता नहीं है कि कंफर्टेबल हो, थोड़ा सा आ ही जाता है, तो आप लोग कंटिन्यू करना और ऑल द बेस्ट.
Thank you.
हेलो, मेरा नाम अब्दुल अजीज है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैं आप सबको कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट और थैंक यू कहना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि आपने कहीं ना कहीं हम सबकी कहीं ना कहीं स्टोरीज निकाल के बोली है इन स्टोरीज में, बच्चों की स्टोरीज में. और दूसरा चीज, क्योंकि ये बच्चों के डीपेस्ट पार्ट्स में से है, उनकी खुद की स्टोरीज हैं, तो आई फील कि कहीं ना कहीं इमोशन आउटबर्स्ट रहा होगा आपके शूटिंग के टाइम. और हम देख सकते हैं बिहाइंड द सीन्स में भी कई सारे हग्स देखते हैं, स्माइल दिखते हैं, टीयर्स दिखते हैं. सो आपको कितना ये सारी चीजों को मैनेज करना पड़ा था. और दूसरा चीज कि पेरेंट्स कैसे रिएक्ट कर रहे थे, इन पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स, वो कैसे रिएक्ट किए इनके सारे, मतलब इनके इन स्टोरीज को देख के और समझ के कि ये लोग इतना मैच्योरली बिहेव कर रहे हैं.
Sweety, Tanya?
We recently held a screening in Delhi. So we invited our parents and teachers for the first time, and they saw the film for the first time. I mean, they knew about the process and stuff, but they did not know the storyline. And I kept it a secret from my parents. You know, it should be a surprise for you guys. You should see it for the first time with no idea of what you're going to expect. So they loved it. I mean, they are typical Indian parents, so they didn't say anything. They just were like, they just looked at me proudly, and that was enough to convey their feelings. I'm like, okay, I get it. You like the film. And my father was actually more proud about my communication skills, because he was like, oh my god, like, well, we were we were on stage and we shared the experiences like we are doing right now that day also. So my father was very surprised by that, and he was happy. teachers were also, all of the teachers messaged me afterwards saying it was such a great movie and they were so happy to be a part of the screening process, and they are so happy that I invited them. And now I feel like I should have invited more teachers.
Yeah, so like when my parents also saw the movie for the first time, so they were actually very happy. Like they acted as well. Like my parents, my sisters, everyone acted. Like the small kid you see under the lamp, she's my youngest sister. And like all of them when they acted, they were really happy to do that. It was not something they were like being forced to do it. They were like, okay, हमारे like all our like parents acted, and they were like, हमारे बच्चों की बात हो रही है. And like they have a lot of respect and love for Nivritti Didi as well. So like Nivritti Didi बोल रही है और हमारे बच्चों की बात हो रही है. So there is no question that we won't do it if it's for our kids. And when they saw us on the screen, they had like a different kind of proud feeling that our kid did that. They saw us not sleeping at nights. They saw us having a 2 hour sleep. They saw us not having food, and they were worried at that time. And but when they saw कि इतना अच्छा आउटकम है उस चीज का, इतनी मेहनत जो उन्होंने की, the outcome is such great, so they were very happy. And like few of my friends were like, we thought educational film है तो शायद boring होगी, and then after the screening in Delhi they came up to me and they're like, यार ये तो super interesting था. Like हमें लगा था ये boring होगा, but it was so interesting. And I like that made us feel like we achieved something. We achieved like a big part of it. So yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone have any question?
Hello. Hi, Vani. We have been coordinating on mail, and thanks a lot for taking your time out, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us for today's screening. It was a wonderful experience for us and very inspiring to see the kind of process that you went through to make this film. And also, I am a firm believer that the process reflects in the project, that a film made through certain efforts and what the crew went through is what the energy is then bounced off on the audience when we are watching it. And surely during the screening, we could feel the energy that you were feeling from your film. And thanks a lot for that. Thank you for making this film. Thank you for coming here, being a part of this, like something that we've started. And thanks a lot to Priyank Bhaiya also, that she just mentioned ki Nivritti, you were Ishwar India, Acumen, you were his mentor. So thanks for mentoring Priyank Bhaiya.
आपने कभी प्रियांक को मेंटर कर, मतलब he's so amazing. It's like yeah, it's not you can't mentor him. You just have to let him flow. You just have to be like आप करो.
Yeah. And in some ways he's mentoring us to like further our organization. We came to him with an idea and here we are, like it's more than 1 year. So thanks for being a part of Raipur Film Society screening, and hopefully we'll stay in touch and looking forward to your film to travel through all the festivals that are coming up in India. Best wishes for your film. We hope it finds a platform and an audience and it travels, like it reaches the people that deserve to watch this and who would take more out of it. Thanks a lot again for being a part of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this
Thank
wonderful
you.
platform.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and lovely questions and so engaged. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Thanks a lot. All right.
Thank
Good luck,
you.
everyone. Right.
Thank you.
All the best.